If you've been selling on eBay for a while, you probably have a death pile. And that's what I ended up with here last year. Was a very large death pile. So I wanted to show you a couple things that I did to work on eliminating this death pile. So a lot of people would call this junk, and it is exactly that. It's a load of scrap. But what I see is a lot of progress. A lot of these doors, seats, were parts that were in my death pile in my trailer, and they have been in my way for a long time. So what I did is I bought these to strip, and I eventually got around to it, and a lot of the parts have already sold. Now, that's not my only pile of scrap. Around the backyard here I have another pile. Now this is a lot more seats, doors, a lot of old, I think there's 3 old riding mower frames in here. So when I look at it, I see the progress I've made on getting rid of my death pile. Now some of the stuff is mine from working on my old CRV, like those old struts, and there's a couple old axles down in there. And I'll probably come back out and pull the wiring harness off of this frame. It's a Craftsman GT5000, I think. I just stripped this, and I know there's some more parts on there, but I really wanted it out of my way. The mower deck, unfortunately, it's too heavy for me to ship, and I could not get a good offer on that thing, even locally on Marketplace. I had a guy offer me 30 bucks for it, but really, I'm just not driving home for $30. It's not worth it to me. Now, some death pile things are lost inventory. This, unfortunately, is a lot of lost inventory. Most of it's just too big to ship. The grill got broken in storage. The seats and stuff didn't sell. The barrel's mine. I'm going to probably cut it into pieces for a raised garden. But that is part of a death pile too. But the main thing is I went through it all. And yeah, that's lost inventory. It's lost revenue. But it is what it is. It's all part of learning the business. This is some of the parts that I'm going to sell off of that GT. Is that a GT3000? So the tires and stuff, the gas tank, transaxle, that engine, the battery and the cables are probably going to be for scrap. But that's what's left of it there to sell. I don't think I said it, but a lot of that stuff, I wouldn't repurchase it. That's why it was sitting in my death pile. Let me look here at my notes. So, for example, that riding mower that I said I would take the wiring harness off of, that's a perfect example of how something becomes a death pile. I had 2 problems with that mower. One, sorry, it's like 95 degrees in the garage today. One problem with it was the location. I had my other garage full. I didn't have a place to tear it down. I think I bought it before I had this shed here. I did. So I put it in the backyard. And the steering was broke. So I never pulled it apart because it's sitting in the sun. I don't want to sit outside and do it. It's not really a good excuse, but that's really why. And I thought about hooking a chain to it and dragging it over around to the front and putting it in the garage. And I don't know if I said this or not, but the steering's broke. So even if I drug it around here, it was just going to be a nightmare to get it in the garage. But I just stripped it apart a couple days ago a couple of days before making this video. The other problem with it was the engine. That engine out there is really heavy. It does fall under 150 pounds, so I could ship it by UPS. But the problem is, probably for the past year, everything that I've shipped by UPS that has been big, I've had a lot of, I don't know what you call them, but back charges. Charges after the shipments arrived. And I've measured them correctly, I've weighed them correctly, but I have had some serious chargebacks from UPS. And I usually use UPS because I don't have very many problems out of UPS. Usually everything I get gets there in good shape. I've only ever had a few claims. So shipping it is an issue. I want to ship it by freight. Well, the problem is where I live, there's nothing close by to ship by freight except Pitt, Ohio, which is pricey. I'm not complaining, but they're pricey. And Fastenal, those stores called Fastenal. So if I want to ship it, like say by FedEx Freight, which when I look on here for freight quotes, FedEx Freight is usually the cheapest. It's a 100-mile drive for me, one way. So by the time I crate it, make a 200-mile round trip, it really is going to be an all-day thing. So I'm just not doing that. And I know you're probably thinking, if you ship freight, well, I can schedule a pickup. I can. I could schedule them to pick it up, but it gets expensive. So the engine became part of the death pile. The mower became part of the death pile because of the location and because I really didn't know how to ship it. I still don't, but I'm going to list it. I've called Fastenal. They kind of gave me some guidelines as to what I need to do. It's only about 25 miles from me. So I do think when it sells that the day I take it down there, I'm going to end up having to come back home and do something else to the crate or to the pallet. And I know some people say you can strap it to a pallet. Yeah, I could strap it to a pallet, but really I want it in a wooden box on top of a pallet. That way, if you know anything about trucking, pallets fall down when they're stacked up. They land on other pallets. And if your shipment's not on inside a crate and an 800-pound pallet falls on top of that engine, it's going to destroy it. So I really want it in a wooden crate. I haven't got that stuff listed yet, but I just got it apart, but it was a big part of my death pile. Probably the one thing going through this death pile, there's a few things that I've really learned. And I knew this before, but I ignored it. But buying items, it's the first step. And honestly, it's the most enjoyable step. Everybody likes going and picking. I like picking. I like looking through Marketplace. I like going and getting the stuff. I like going into junkyards and picking up items. But really, from a business standpoint, it can't be what you like. It has to be the whole process. In other words, you need a plan to move it, to tear it down, to pack it up, to ship it. If you're new to eBay or you're looking at selling some of this stuff like I have, it's a learning process. So like with the freight engine, once I do this a few times, I'll learn how to ship things by freight or by like Fastenal. And but anything that ships by freight, it's going to have to be worth it for me, because even crating it and driving it to a local city to drop it off at Fastenal, I mean, really, I'm not a carpenter, so it's going to take me, half of a day. If I start at 7 a.m., I think I would be done by 1 o'clock. Let me look through my notes here. I actually put all this stuff on my computer, but it got out of order because I didn't like the order it was in. I think, too, that like I told you with the death pile, the scrap piles out there, at the time I thought they were a good buy, but really looking at how much time it took to get them listed, a lot of the stuff is slow selling. So I really wouldn't make those purchases again. As for the riding tractors, probably. I need to learn how to list them. I think there's good money in them, but you have to be selective, and you need to be, fairly knowledgeable, because a lot of times, like those three there, I think I bought all of them. They all had issues. They were cheap, but they all had issues. So you have to be able to check and make sure they run good. The transaxles work if you're going to try to sell the transaxle, which is really one of the biggest parts of the tractor, the engine and the mowing deck, if you can sell the mowing deck. I sold the mowing deck off to Craftsman's here local, and I think I sold the mowing decks for $60 each, which, yeah, I realize they're worth a lot more than that, but where I'm at, it's really hard to sell that stuff, and I'm happy with $60 cash and picking it up and putting it on the back of a guy's truck. So some other things I have are some seats, and I haven't got them tore apart yet, but I'll show them to you. Sorry, I got my finger into the camera there. I don't have one of those sticks you hold the phone out on, so it's got to be close up. Seats. So these seats are another part of my death pile. This one, that one is a set, and then this old Thunderbird seat. So at the time I bought these, I would probably buy these again. I'll tell you why. These seats have value in pieces. So the armrests sell pretty good. The plastic trim down on the bottom sells good as long as it's not broken. The recline hinges sell really good. And the seat tracks sell really good. Now, a lot of those seats I've bought and sold, I don't know how many sets. And what I found out is shipping has really gone up, and I really don't want to spend the time taking them apart and trying to ship them. And I know what you're thinking. Well, you just said that stuff had value. Aren't you going to take it apart and ship it? I am. But I'll tell you, over the years, shipping has really gone up. The amount of money that I used to make off of the seats would make up for what I lost in shipping. I always charged shipping on those seats. And what I did so I could send them by UPS was I would take them apart. I would put now if I sold them complete like that with the tracks and the plastic trim, what I would do is take the upper parts of the seat, the part that your back sits against, I would put them in one box. Then I would take the bottoms, and I would either put one bottom in one box, or I would remove the tracks, put the bottoms in another box. So now you got your uppers, your lower sections, and then the plastic pieces I would put in a separate box, because you don't want those to get broke. They actually have pretty good resale value rate. Now, if I sold them with the tracks, there's been times I would put the tracks in a separate box. So by the time you make all those boxes, and believe me, you're not going to drive down to your local shipping store usually and find a box that fits that. You'll find something that you can cut down, or you're going to end up making a custom box. And I would usually end up making the boxes. To tear those down and get them shipped, they were a real headache, and I never charged enough for shipping. I always lost money on shipping, after fees, after the cost of the materials. So like with that set of seats, I'm going to try to tear those apart today. That's why I'm making this video, because I wanted you to see the seats before I got them apart. But I'm going to sell them in pieces. And if you're wondering, like, well, what are those seats for? They fit like a 1987 to a 1996 Ford F-Series truck or a full-size Bronco. Now, the tracks on those bucket seats are for an extended cab. I don't remember on those years if the Bronco on the passenger side took a separate track or not. Um, some of those old Broncos, the seats would flip up, the 70s, and I think up to 86. But anyway, I'm sidetracking. But the tracks are worth good money separately. The hinges that I showed you, all that stuff is going to be worth money. And sometimes one of the reasons they're sitting there is I tend to get emotionally attached to some of this stuff, and I think, man, I just hate taking a nice set of seats apart because somebody will buy them and they'll fully restore them, they'll pull them all apart, new foam, new upholstery, make them nice. But the reality is they're driver quality seat, and whoever buys them is going to be a driver quality truck. Chances are slim that those seats would get totally redone. And I tell you, the biggest problem is, like, for somebody that wants to purchase them, you look at buying them, like say those seats might be worth, I haven't sold a set in a while because of shipping costs, but let's say they were worth $350. I've sold lots of them for around that price range. Then you end up having to pay another $250 to ship them. Well, if a guy has a set of those seats and he only needs a couple of parts, he doesn't really want to spend close to $600 by the time you get taxes and all that in there. He doesn't want to spend $600 on a set of seats that he has to wonder if the seller's honest. He would rather take his seats apart and say, oh, look, my hinge is busted, or the frames on that actually have some value. He may say, oh, my frames are bent. I need a new lower seat frame for the driver's side. Well, he can buy a seat frame, like that seat frame I'll probably sell for like 60 or 80 bucks. He can buy that and make another seat. Or, perhaps his armrest is wore out. Well, he doesn't want to have to pay all that money for an armrest. He can buy the armrest. Believe it or not, the last time I checked those armrests at the time of this video, which is June of 2026, the armrests, I saw them on there for like $90. I couldn't believe it. I feel like an idiot because I probably walked past thousands of them in the junkyard, but back then maybe they weren't worth nothing. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked on that stuff. The Thunderbird seat you saw there, I bought a set. I tore one apart, and I've sold the pieces off of that, not all of them. With this one here, I'm going to do some measuring on it and weigh it. I may just sell that seat complete as a core. It's not that big. It would be expensive to ship, but if it comes apart, the upper section doesn't look that big. The bottom section would be big with the tracks on it. But that might be what I do. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that seat yet. I think probably going through this death pile, there was a couple points here I wrote down, but I can't seem to find it now, so I'll just say it. The biggest thing I've realized going through this stuff is I need to be a lot more careful about what I purchase. I'm just trying to get back the value out of these things. Now, I'll still make money on the seats, the mowers and stuff. I'll still make money. But I'm telling you, from my perspective, this junk sat in my way for a year. And I can't tell you how many days I came out here and went and did Spark delivery, DoorDash, anything to get away from here, because I don't function good in a mess. And I have a little bit of a mess in here now, but it's functional to me, and I know that will have it cleaned up in a few days, so I don't mind that. Or if I bring a load of stuff in and I put it here on the floor and I'm going through it, I don't really mind a mess like that. But what does cause me to freeze up is junk in my way. And this junk was in my way. I have a homemade enclosed trailer out there. A lot of the stuff was in that enclosed trailer. Sorry, I'm sweating like crazy. I turned the fan off so it wouldn't hear the background noise. My other trailer, that little 5x8 out there, that needs to go to the dump. That trailer's been tied up for several months with that stuff on it. And I'm going to try to get that emptied this week because I need the trailer. I found 2 mowers today I'd like to go purchase, but I'm not going to buy stuff when I've already got junk sitting here. So the biggest thing it's made me responsible. And I will tell you, I've sold on eBay for a long time under several different accounts. I think I started selling on eBay, man, 2000, maybe 2001. I mean, when I first started selling on eBay, people mailed you money orders. Some people mailed you checks. So it's been a long time. Over the years, I've created death piles a few times. It wasn't my full-time work. I did other work. So because I was making decent money at my other job, I would come home, and if I had a death pile like this one here, I'd haul it away. And I did think I said that before. It's an expensive way to reset your business. Going through this stuff has really helped me realize that I need to be more responsible. And I'm kind of holding myself accountable to get this stuff done. So I think that's about all the points I wanted to make with this video. I just want to look over my notes here and make sure that there's nothing that I really missed. Oh, there's the point. The biggest thing I've learned is inventory only works when you list it. Yeah. So if you have a death pile, you know how it affects your cash flow. Because you spent your cash to buy this stuff, and now it just sits there. It needs to get listed. It's the only way your business is going to survive. Think if Walmart bought all the stuff that they're going to sell at their stores, and they never got it out of the warehouse. You know, it all came to their distribution centers and sat there. They go bankrupt. It's the same way with our businesses on eBay. You know, this is my warehouse. If the parts just sit in my warehouse and never get out to the store, my eBay store, I'm never going to sell them. So I really feel, honestly, I was embarrassed by that death pile. It was really embarrassing to me to leave the garage door open and see all that junk sitting here, to see tractors in my backyard. There is some stuff that went to the scrapyard that didn't get tore apart, but I'm trying to do better. So if you have a death pile, look and see if there's any value in it. There's a couple options for you. You know, I've seen people on eBay where they sold their death pile to other resellers. Sometimes you can sell the stuff locally if you can find somebody. But, you know, really, if it has good value online and you just need to tear it apart, for me personally, I needed to discipline myself a little bit and get this stuff tore apart, get it on the internet, and get it out of here. The big stuff, like I told you with the mower decks, so it was a GT3000 and a GT5000. I sold them both locally. I listed them, and I mean, they sold like that. That John Deere deck, nothing. That thing is heavy too. But anyway, so my goal at this point is just to keep working through my old inventory. I want to keep buying quicker flips, cleaner items, and I want to keep building my store up basically one listing at a time. So I think that's about all the points I wanted to make with my video. I've totally gone off the rails with my notes, but if you like eBay content, you can subscribe if you want. At this point, I just started my channel not long ago, so I don't really expect a ton of subscribers. The other thing is, if you feel that some of the information here has been helpful, please give it a thumbs up, because it'll help someone else that probably, like me, is sitting on top of a death pile and feels lost. So it really helps the algorithm to get it out to other people that have these issues. So I really appreciate you watching, and that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.